Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a bit of a local mystery, and it's one that frustrates literally thousands of homeowners every single year. We're looking at exactly what happens in the backyards of Charlotte and Lake Norman when the weather finally starts to warm up. But more importantly, we're going to learn how to defeat a silent, creeping threat before it completely destroys all of your hard work.
Picture this scenario, because I know a lot of us have lived it. You put in the sweat equity, right? You survived the freezing temps, the dormancy, and that endless winter mud. And your lawn? It looked absolutely fantastic all winter long. Spring finally arrives, things warm up, the grass is greening up beautifully, you're feeling pretty proud. And then, bam, you notice it. A brown patch here. A weird ring over there. A whole section that just looks kind of off. Why is your perfect winter lawn suddenly dying almost overnight? Honestly, it feels like walking into a true crime scene right in your own front yard, doesn't it? Well, human nature makes us want to point fingers at the usual suspects, right? We immediately think of drought stress, maybe grubs, or even those stubborn dog spots. These are the culprits we naturally blame because they're just the most obvious. But as the evidence shows us, the true culprit is way more stealthy. It's spring fungal disease. This is one of the absolute most destructive yet completely underestimated threats creeping into Charlotte lawns every single spring.
So how does it get away with it? Well, this fungal invader is so incredibly successful because it has the perfect accomplice, our local climate. Just look at this timeline. All winter long, fungal spores are just hanging out, dormant in your soil, doing absolutely nothing, just waiting. Then, May and early June roll around. Our peat-knot daytime temperatures climb right up into the 80s. You get those classic afternoon Lake Norman thunderstorms that roll through, leaving the grass soaking wet for hours. Night falls, the air stays warm and humid, and that morning dew just lingers well into mid-morning. It is the literal exact combination of heat, humidity, and moisture needed to create a 5-star luxury resort for fungal pathogens.
Now, what's really interesting about this is you might naturally assume all grass is equally at risk, but check out this breakdown of turf vulnerability. Tall Fescue is hugely popular around here for its durability, but ironically, it's actually in the highest risk category. Because it's a cool season grass, the second temperatures rise above 80 degrees, it triggers severe heat stress, which basically tanks its immune response. On the flip side, Bermuda grass and zoysia, they have a moderate risk because they're warm season grasses and way more heat tolerant. But if you have Tall Fescue in the Charlotte metro, you've got the most vulnerable victim on the block.
Okay, so who exactly are our primary attackers? Let's take a look at the formal criminal profile for our main suspect, brown patch, or Rhizoctonia solani, if we're getting scientific. This is the undisputed heavyweight champion of lawn destruction. It's the #1 fungal killer of fescue in the southeast. This stuff thrives the absolute second the thermometer hits that sweet spot between 70 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit, especially alongside high humidity. And it is aggressive. It creates these large, rapidly growing circular or irregular brown patches that can spread several feet across in just a matter of days. It's devastating and it moves incredibly fast.
Then we have the secondary culprit you definitely need to be aware of, gray leaf spot. Now, while this pathogen is historically more common in grasses like St. Augustine or ryegrass, we're increasingly seeing it attack fescue during those relentlessly hot, humid stretches. And notice its distinct visual signature. Gray leaf spot doesn't just create large brown circles, it creates tiny, distinct diamond-shaped lesions right on the individual grass blades. Multiply that across an entire yard, and it gives your whole lawn this bleached-out, intensely scorched look.
Now, because fungus rarely announces itself loudly, remember, it sneaks in during the night and does its damage in that early morning dew, you really have to know how to read the visceral clues left at the scene. Pay close attention to these warning signs. You're watching for sudden brown patches, especially ones that have a dark, water-soaked ring around the outer edge. That's a classic signature of brown patch. You might also notice the grass blades looking matted down, having a grayish cast, or even feeling downright slimy in the early morning. Gross, right? Keep an eye out for those individual blades with tan lesions and dark borders too. If you see these slimy, water-soaked clues, unfortunately, the invasion has already started.
So, what does this all mean for you? Well, it's summarized perfectly by this quote right here. If brown patches are growing during warm, humid weather, you're looking at disease, not drought. We really need to bust this dangerous myth right now, for sure. The biggest, most fatal mistake well-meaning homeowners make is seeing a brown patch, assuming the lawn is just thirsty, and instantly turning on the sprinklers. Actually, scratch that. It's not just a mistake. It actively feeds the fungus. If you misdiagnose fungus as drought stress and add more water, in this scenario, more moisture literally equals more fungus.
Section 1.
the defense strategy, and proven prevention practices.
Let's move to and see how this builds your defense, because prevention is always significantly more effective and, quite frankly, a whole lot less expensive than treating a massive outbreak. Here are the 5 specific cultural practices you absolutely must adopt to remove that fungal breeding ground. Step 1, and this is the single most important: water before 10 a.m. This lets the grass dry out during the day. Evening watering leaves blades wet for hours, which is exactly what the fungus is begging for. Step 2, limit late spring nitrogen fertilizer. High nitrogen pushes soft, lush, fast growth that's highly susceptible to infection. Step 3, mow high. Keep it around 3.5 to 4 inches. Scalping removes the lawn's natural buffer and stresses out the grass. Step 4, core aerate in the fall to improve drainage, especially in those shaded, low-lying areas where water just loves to pool. And Step 5, apply a preventative fungicide right at the optimal time, well before any symptoms even appear.
I really want to highlight the stakes here because they're high. Curative treatments are just playing catch-up. Prevention is the only way to protect what you've grown. This is a vital takeaway. If you wait until a massive brown patch is already taken over, applying a curative fungicide can definitely stop the fungus from spreading any further across your yard. But, and this is a massive but, it cannot resurrect turf that is already dead. Think of fungicide as a shield, not a time machine.
Section 2, the ultimate solution: lawn pride of North Charlotte.
Look, when you're dealing with aggressive pathogens that thrive in these specific microclimates, sometimes you just need to call in the professional cavalry, the folks who do this day in and day out. Lawn Pride's approach is incredibly strategic. They utilize proactive, seasonal monitoring specifically heading into the humid season. They use targeted preventative fungicide applications timed precisely to the Charlotte area's unique disease pressure window. They handle custom fertilization that feeds your lawn safely without risking a sudden fungal outbreak. And honestly, most importantly, they offer expert diagnosis of microclimates. Their technicians know exactly which neighborhoods near Lake Norman have the shade and moisture conditions that favor disease, allowing them to cut the problem off at the pass before damage ever even sets in.
We've seen the evidence today. We know what the warning signs look like, we know the climate is actively working against us, and we know exactly how fast these pathogens move. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought. Will you wait for the damage or protect what you've grown? The absolute worst time to think about lawn fungus is when you're staring at a dead brown patch rapidly spreading across your yard. The best time to act? It's right now, before the intense heat sets in and way before that humidity spikes. If you want to keep your lawn thick, healthy, and completely fungus-free this spring, it's time to get a proactive assessment. Protect your hard work. Thanks for learning with me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.